30 Minutes with Ron. Hello, my name is Ron Gagliardi, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of 30 Minutes with Ron. My guest tonight is Dave Smith. Dave, welcome.
Thanks, Ron.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here again.
So good of you to come. Again.
Again.
The audience doesn't know about this.
Oh, that's right.
Should we tell them?
No.
Okay. Audience, we're not going to tell you. Well, Dave.
Yes, Ron.
We're going to talk about something tonight.
We are.
Yes, and we're going to be serious.
Okay.
Which is very difficult for me.
I know.
Okay. There's a subject that is dear to your heart. And before we reveal the subject, I think we should find out a little bit about you.
Okay.
That will give our audience something to look forward to.
Okay.
All right, so tell us about you and how you got to be here. What's your life story?
My life story.
Your life story in 30 seconds or less.
Well, I work here at Cox Communications in Cheshire, and I teach video production to people in our franchise area. Been here for about 6 years. Thoroughly enjoy the job. It's a great job.
That is a short life that you have there. What'd you do before that? That's an interesting story.
I had a small bail bond company in Manchester, Connecticut. Did that for about 10 years.
Small bail bond.
Small bail bond company, right across from the court.
Of course. Best place to be.
Location, location, location.
All right. So you're here at Cox Communications, and it turns out that a subject came up because of a relative of yours.
Yeah, not so much because of a relative, but my sister's son has a form of autism, and I really didn't know much about it. I knew that he was having trouble at school, but I really didn't. I live in Seattle, so there wasn't a lot of contact. But then I met another young man, an 18-year-old, and he had Asperger's syndrome. And I was just watching him, and I realized that he would probably enjoy playing in our studio, here in the studio, because the control room's just full of lights and buttons. And I saw him operate a piece of electronic equipment that he did really well at. So I thought that, well, if he would enjoy it, then chances are that others would also.
Okay. So at this point, you were not schooled in autism. You didn't know, much about it.
No, I'm still not. I don't. That's one thing that I make sure people understand is I'm not an autism expert. I do video production. And what I do is I teach a small group of, I guess, young adults who are on the spectrum in video production. And they've become a very crack video production crew.
Okay.
We do our show, which is on the spectrum. And we have experts come in, and family members and doctors, and the subject matter is almost always about autism. So we provide awareness and education to the public. Because when we started, which was 4 years ago, there wasn't that much. It's come a long way in the last 4 years.
Yes, so now you're getting guests that are like way up there in the levels of goodness, like importance.
Yes, we started, our first guests were kind of whoever we could get just to do the show. But we've done 5 shows on financial planning for special needs children. A lot of doctors, they talk about what autism is and how it affects the child and how it affects the family and what can and can't be done about it or what shouldn't be done about it.
So when you say the spectrum, that's the level of autism that a child might have. It's like from a little bit to a lot.
Right. From what I know, it's a very broad spectrum. And I think they're still trying to figure out where those division points are as far as what form of autism and the severity.
Yeah, I get to tutor a couple of kids who've had autism or who still have autism. And I find that it's kind of like there's a little bit of wiring that's different and in the brain.
Okay.
A friend now is a friend, but also was someone I tutored had a traumatic brain injury, and that affected the wiring in his brain. And so somehow things just aren't put together wire-wise, and that can happen. And
Okay.
a lot of people have different wiring, and this happens to be a different kind. Is that a good analogy?
I think so. Like
I wouldn't
said,
insult
don't
anybody with that?
Insult anybody? No,
Yeah,
I don't
good.
think so.
Okay.
I've had no problems with the kids learning at all. I'm not a teacher even, and they just take to it. They just took to it. I remember our first practice, I guess, the first time we had the crew in here, the kids just sort of gravitated to what they wanted to do. I didn't have to make any assignments. Some of them looked at the cameras and just went right to the cameras. Others went into the control room.
How did you attract your first group?
Well, first thing I did was I went on the internet and I looked for autism organizations in Connecticut nearby. So it was just an idea I had. And I ultimately found ASRC, which is Autism Services and Resources Connecticut. They're in Wallingford, Connecticut. And they're great. I mean, if you need help with just any questions you might have, or even if you want to participate in some activities, they're the ones to be to contact. So that's what I did. I made a phone call, and they thought it was a great idea, and they already had a pool of young adults. So we went through a process of picking who would be good and who wouldn't. Some came and they didn't like it and they left. I've learned the word good fit. So it's nobody's fault and it's nobody's doing anything wrong. It's either a good fit or it isn't. Like a shirt, so some it didn't fit and they went off to do other things, and others it did fit, and they've been here some have been here for the entire 4 years.
So the process was like interviewing for a job.
It was, and that's how the program is run. So now if we discuss it like a program for the kids to come in and learn, which is really the basis of it now, I run it like a job. So when we do a shoot, I'm the boss. And they're the employees, and they're expected to do everything that they would be expected to do on a job. If you're going to be late, you call. If you're not going to make it, you need to call. While you're here, you work, which they do. They just go right to their positions now, and they know what to do. And they're starting to actually shoot shows by themselves. They don't need me that much anymore. They've gotten that good. And we're still working on, and we haven't done it as much as we should, rotating positions. We seem to get settled into a comfort zone, and it works, and we're doing shows. But we need to start mixing it up more. It's generally done about every 6 months. And when we do that, it's done like a job application process, where they think of a position they want to try. They have to fill out a job application. They come in for an interview. And then I decide who goes where, what new spots they go to.
So it's a general life experience thing.
It is. It's to learn the skills that they're going to need to know. And I thought that it would be better for them to do it here than out in the real world, because, I mean, even you and me do not like going for job interviews, and I don't know anybody who does.
I love going for jobs. I do it so often. I've had over 130 jobs, by the way, but I don't tell too many people. They think I got fired from 130 jobs.
We should have you teaching the job interview process to the kids.
It's fun. But speaking of positions and jobs, how many positions are there in the crew?
Let's see, we have 3 cameras, we have lighting, we have a sound tech, we have graphics, and we have director. So I didn't count while I was mentioning them, but
I didn't either.
It's either 7 or 8, depending on the show.
And so they went to a position that they gravitated to. And,
Originally, yeah.
okay. And so did any of them find out that that was not the best spot, the good fit? No.
No, they stayed there for a while. The biggest problem is some of the positions are boring. And we teach them that you just have to put in the time. You have to, put in your time in the boring job. It's part of life. You just have to pay your dues, and that's how you climb the ladder, essentially.
So in the 4 years you've been doing this, I assume that some of the crew have gravitated to other jobs outside of this or other schooling situations.
They have. I just found out that our camera 3 person, Tanner, from Cheshire, is taking college courses at Gateway College. Is that correct, Tanner? That's okay. And it's in preparation to go on to Middlesex.
Middlesex has an excellent program. I have a friend who went through that program, and now he's doing national television.
Hear that, Tanner?
Get ready.
Yeah.
So now we're here tonight,
Yeah.
and the crew is taping, and we thought we would talk a little bit about the crew.
Yes.
So they come from different towns in the area,
They do.
and their age range is,
From 16 to early 20s,
okay,
I would say.
and they have jobs outside of this,
Some
obviously.
do, yeah.
And you also do your own show once a month or so, right?
We do. Well, yes. I guess we never explained that.
Yes, we should
Because
explain.
sometimes I forget which show I'm on because I started hosting. Our show is on the Spectrum, and this obviously is 30 Men with Ron. Now, the crew started with this show, and it was their first job outside of the comfort of our show, where you can do no wrong. It's all a learning experience. It's all fun. If we get a great show out of it, which we always have been able to, then that, then all the better. But this show is different. This is somebody else's product, really. So it was a test for the crew, and no problem. They just fell right into it, and they just did what they do. They do a great job.
They do. Now, I assume it's a great thing to put on a resume that they've had this experience.
Absolutely.
And we also should give credit where credit is due, because when you had this idea, you couldn't just implement it. You
No,
had to go see someone.
I had to get permission.
And who is the person, the wonderful person who gave you permission?
There's this guy. Not many people know him in Cheshire. He's pretty shy. He doesn't get
yeah.
out very much. My boss, Peter Talbot, he was all for it, and he continues to support the program, which I'm
Excellent.
very grateful for.
Yeah. And so, we have these eggs over here. I thought we should explain these
Okay.
while we have an opportunity.
Okay.
Can you tell us about these deviled eggs?
I can. And thank you for that.
Yes, well, we couldn't just leave
Our
them there all
producer,
lonely.
behind the scenes of the show is the producer, Pudashad, and she is fantastic. Every show for the crew and for the parents, she prepares food. And tonight it's deviled eggs. I don't know if you want to get a close-up of these things, but,
They are glorious.
I mean, talk about some good eggs, And I'm not talking about you guys. You guys are good eggs, though. But this is the kind of thing she does every time. It's either cookies and coffee, and the crew will get pizza. And she's a great producer. She's very serious, very detailed. She knows exactly what she wants.
Okay. Now, a lot of people who tune in don't know that much about Cox and the shows.
Okay.
So where is the show seen? What towns?
Cheshire, Southington, and Meriden. And it's on channel 15. That's if you have a cable box and if you have Cox. If you have Cox and you don't have a cable box, you just plug it into the back of your TV. The channel is 123-185.
Sounds like a song.
And that's for a modern, widescreen TV.
Okay.
The TV has to be made, I think it's after 2008, because we are almost totally digital now. So old TVs, you need to get a box, a converter box.
Okay, so both shows, On the Spectrum and 30 Minutes with Ron,
Yes,
are
on
in
those.
that,
Yeah.
on that setup. Okay?
Yeah, along with all our other shows, our other producers and sponsors.
Now, you mentioned that you've done 4 years' worth of shows.
Yes,
Have you archived them? Are they all available someplace?
they are. Yeah, I have them in a computer.
And so they've aired, but they're not on any other place? Could you go to YouTube and find some of them?
Yes. I
And-
can't say that every one of them is on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
And you could do a search for On the Spectrum.
And I know that, at least with 30 Minutes with Ron, that some of them are on YouTube,
Mhm.
and people see them, and they tell me things about them.
Oh, they do?
Yes, they do.
Good.
I see them, and I tell me things about them, and I
What
go,
kind of things do you hear?
well, somebody thought I was leaning forward too much, I think. And then when I see myself, I say, who is that geezer? How did I get to be that old? What response have you had to some of your shows?
I don't get much feedback. I mean, the feedback, not from the public anyway. From the parents and from ASRC, I get a lot of feedback.
And what do they say?
Well, the program has helped the kids a lot. We have one of the first ones was Anthony's father, Jimmy, who's on the set there watching. First thing that, it was early on and Anthony was in the control room.
Anthony is his son.
Yes, and he's our director. And Anthony was talking, we were talking about, I don't even remember what it was, but to me, I've never heard him talk so much, he said. So I think it brings them out of their shell a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They socialize here, which is very important for anybody on the spectrum, from what I understand. They seem to take what they learn here home, which is good. That's about the best compliment that I could have. And we've had Tanner and we've had Thomas go on to college courses looking at video production as a career.
It's a good way to go.
Yeah.
So who else is on the crew tonight?
Okay, so we have Ryan on camera 2. Actually, I see camera 2 is pointed at Tom. So maybe we could take camera 2. And there's Tom on camera 1 and Dylan, our floor director. And we also have Tanner on camera 3, of course. I don't know if we can grab a shot of him from somewhere. But he's one. How long have you been, Tanner? Have you been here the whole 4 years? Or pretty close, right? Has it been 2 years? Oh, no, it's longer than that. But Tanner's been one of our long-term guys. He's very patient on camera 3. We have Ryan on camera 2.
But he, over in the dark there.
Yeah, I know. Can you see him? Ryan is new, and he's taking to the equipment very well. He's looking at graphics also.
Yeah, I think you said you're starting to do editing.
I am. I'm starting to train the kids in editing, which is a big thing.
It is. I can tell you that I spent a summer with one of the guys here, Al, and he tried to teach me how to edit, and I understood it at first, but then it just goes away. It doesn't stay.
It's something you have to do.
Yeah.
There's so much to remember.
Well, I used to have a show here way back in the 90s called Rendezvous, Ron's View of the Day. And I would spend, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours a week with analog editing. And I was actually okay with that. That was not so hard for me. But the digital editing, which should be easier, for me, it didn't work as well.
Yeah.
No.
Well, if you ever want, you can come in. I'll try my teaching style.
Well, it's not the teaching. It's the subject. The brain just is not the sponge that it once was. Now, who's in the booth tonight? The old booth.
Can we get a shot of the booth? We have Dylan Longo on sound. We have Nick Walters on lights, and we have Anthony Trischetti is our director, who's been doing a fabulous job. Look, you guys get up and wave to everybody. To your adoring public and camera 2 there. So those are the guys. They're the ones that we have. We don't have a full crew tonight. We really didn't need one. That's another thing that we're discussing, is not having everybody show up for every show. That some of the positions are boring. So what they've told me is they want more shows, more interesting positions, and if they came twice a month and had a cool position to be at, then that would be perfect. So we need more shows.
More shows.
More shows.
Have you thought about... Oh, go ahead.
And a few more crew members.
A few more crew members. So we're advertising.
Yes.
So look right at camera, whatever.
No,
you can't do that?
Okay.
Okay. And so when you do the shows, they're always in studio.
They are. They have been lately. We've done things like ASRC does a run walk every year. Twice I brought some field equipment and just let the kids go. And then we made a show of that. And the great thing is that crew members that you never would have thought would want to do this or even be able to do this walked around with a microphone. The real shy ones.
Yeah.
Walked around with a microphone and interviewed people. And they did a great job. They brought all the footage back in and I cut it into it was almost an hour-long show. It was very good. They did a great job.
The microphone gives you power.
It does, huh?
Yes. Now, the equipment, I'm assuming, in the field is much different than the equipment in the studio.
It is. It's smaller, it's lighter.
Do you have to have training on that as well?
Yeah, but it's amazing what auto shooting can do now, or the auto functions on the cameras nowadays. They're pretty amazing. So I teach them, it was a while ago, but you have to, if you're going to use auto, you have to actually teach somebody how to use auto. You can't just really just go out and shoot. You still need to know a little bit about what the camera needs from you and how it operates. So auto is great if you know how to use it effectively. And that's what I would try to do with them, because doing it manually would just be a nightmare.
Oh, definitely.
There's too many changes when you're walking around.
I used to do videography professionally since 1979, when it was black and white, reel to reel, and
Wow.
nobody wanted it. And then it went to the VHS. And back in those days, the camera was like a battleship that you put
Yeah.
on your shoulder,
Yeah.
and then you had the actual recording thing
Oh,
over here.
The deck on a strap,
Yeah.
really?
Ah, it was very painful.
Wow. It's almost worth not doing. Now it's
Yeah,
a
they're
little SD
tiny
card.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the camera weighs 3 pounds, and it's HD.
Yeah. I used to have fun doing the interviews, though. I'd go up to people at weddings and bar mitzvahs, and I'd say, "Hi, I'm Ron with Fraction News. We only get part of the story, and right now we're after your part." And then they'd giggle or throw me out, get out of here. But you can, behind a microphone, you actually do feel somewhat different than without the microphone. So you mentioned that you had these shows, and you mentioned that you've gotten some of these high-powered attorneys and doctors. So what show stands out in your mind of all of these?
Some of the early ones I remember the most. I don't know whether it's because we were exciting, or it was exciting, and we weren't sure what was going to happen. But we had parents on. They had a young child who was on the stage, just found out he was on the spectrum. And to watch them talk about it was really interesting. And I remember thinking that this is going to help a lot of people, because how many people out there don't know what to do,
Yeah.
and they just need to know that they're not alone. But the financial shows that we've done, because I never thought of, what do you do about, your autistic child? How are you going to plan for their financial future?
Yeah, that must be a cause of concern. Well, I was just recently diagnosed as ADHD.
Okay.
Yeah, that's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or something.
You mean just at your age?
Well, I never really got tested for anything. People knew I was a little bit wacky, but they didn't put any title to it. But I've been working with a professor at Southern, and she's in this area, and she's known me for years, and she finally decided to share with me. And she said, "You know what, Ron? You have this particular syndrome." And I said, "Really?" And I said, "Wow, well, maybe that's why I can't concentrate on anything. I just kind of bounce around from one thing to another," because I call it the shotgun approach. But you never know. I also have OCD. That's a fun one. You know about OCD? Obsessive compulsive disorder? There's fun. Like if there's a drawer that's slightly open, I have to shut it.
Okay.
And if the bills in my wallet, they're not all straight up and down, they got to be, the face forward. And
Maybe you're just neat.
No, I've never really been accused of being neat. No.
Yet you, hence the OCD, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Right?
I'm organized in a
I'm
disorganized
trying to make
way.
sense of it, and I don't know why.
No. But enough about me. Let's talk about me. No. Back to the subject. You mentioned the one or two shows that were of interest. Of all the guests that you've had, was any particular guest a standout guest in your mind?
No.
No.
And I don't know what we're going to do with this in editing, but
Wow, because that was a long pause.
all the shows are about equal in my mind, I think. Each one has the same amount of value. They all come out well. And each guest has something different to offer, I think. I don't think there is a star in the lineup. I think all the shows are, just one's as good as the rest.
Okay, so let's go to the types of guests. You had parents, you had attorneys,
We have had a few. Yeah, we have.
financial planners,
Yes.
any other particular position that would be of interest as one of your guests?
And like I said, the parents, we actually had one of the crew members on,
Oh, how did that go?
it went very well. And he talked about being autistic. And that's the name of the episode, Being Autistic. He did very well. The host was that we had at the time was fantastic, and he did a good job at keeping him going. I think it was a little tough for him, but he did it, and so I have to hand it to him.
Yeah, that could be scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that one, we got some comments on YouTube about that one from other autistic kids, other autistic teenagers.
Okay, so you think you have a viewing audience out there?
There was a few. We have a few subscriptions, or subscribers, I guess, is on the YouTube channel.
There's no Nielsen rating for this kind of, oh, well, with
There
YouTube,
isn't.
no, wait, with Facebook you get likes,
Right.
but with YouTube you just count the views, I guess it is.
Yes, the views is the, and we do okay.
How many views do you average?
I don't do the numbers.
Oh,
I'm just glad that the show is on and it's up on YouTube.
uh-huh. Turns out that with that interlude, we get to wrap it up.
Okay,
So Dave Smith, thanks for being with us.
my pleasure.
And viewers of the audience, I thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll hopefully see you again next time. Bye-bye.